Okay, so I'm back, and as you can see, my palette got quite messy because I normally don't have 24 colors at any given time on my palette. So the next step, we're going to clean it off. So here's what my palette looks like. So the outer ring, remember, is all of our primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, and the inner ring are all tones of the same color, which is basically added white to them. And some of them I had to adjust because they look too similar, and it's, you know, you're trying to gauge on the palette of what's half or not, but this is all just to show you of how many different colors I've gotten with 4 colors, or 3 plus white. If you wanted those true hot pinks or certain colors, those are really man-made colors. You're going to have to probably buy them separately. In the inside ring here is what you would call a tint. I tend to call them glazes in Encaustic, and I use them quite often to unify an overall piece. And that's taking, you can either do this color or this color, and I'm going to go back to these, and adding it with Encaustic medium. So remember, Encaustic medium is beeswax mixed with Damar resin. It is Encaustic medium. It's what we call the clear word. You can also mix it with plain beeswax if you like, because the paints that we're using already are mixed in, have the Damar resin in them. I gave this a quick fuse, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to actually clean off my whole palette. I'm going to go back to my, and I'll record it, to my primaries, and I'm going to make the tint or the glaze to fit into each, and you'll see it'll be another range of color. But in Encaustic, I tend to use them as unifying colors of layers in between, as opposed to using just Encaustic medium. It helps to unify your pieces of work. So I'm going to go clean up my brushes. You'll notice you'll go through a lot of brushes, or you have to clean them, and I cleaned mine a few times. And then we're going to make medium to create the glaze. The medium I use, this is from, I remelt it down and I put it into smaller tins because I like the smaller size. This is from Evans Encaustic, and the link will be below as well. This one already has some blue in it. So I'm going to melt it. Once again, also, I have to kind of guesstimate of what it is. And for this, I probably want to create the glaze or the tint. I want a very sheer, and this I tend not to do on a hot box. This is just to create my color wheel. I tend to do this more when I create tints. You need actually very little color. I'm going to pull it out because this color is very saturated, and we just want a nice glaze. I'm going to have to take a clean brush because I don't want to pick up any other color. I'm actually going to let that sit and melt a little bit. So right under where my blue is, which is over here, I'm going to put it right in here. It's going to be my glaze, or my tint. I like my glazes to be mostly in medium with very little color, but that's up to you. You decide what you want. So I'm going to go around and complete my inner circle here of my glazes with each color that I'm going to remix and add Encaustic medium. And basically when I'm done, I have 36 colors. Like I said, once again, your inner one would be your glazes that you would be using. So I'm going to go continue filling up my color wheel, and I'll be back. Okay, so it is very hot in the studio, and I finished my color wheel. As you can see from the glazes, my brushes had a lot of color in them. So the minute I touched it into the medium, they became very saturated. The purple here is actually a really good example of what a glaze is. That's one of the problems you have when you set up your color wheel. But this is a good lesson. So when you do a tint or a glaze, depending on the depth of what you want, you need very, very little color in your medium. The colors here are very, very, very saturated. So these can probably be lightened up a bit. But you can see how you get the different gradations of what you need. Now, back to basic color theory, one side of your palette is your warm colors here and your cool colors here. So your warm colors tend to bring things more forward into the painting, and your cool pushes it back. Also, they usually evoke emotion. So your warm side of your palette tends to be love or passion or hot and heat. And your cooler sides tend to be nature and calming and soothing, or dark and dreary. So just a little bit about your color theory. But here's a way of how you can get started on your with your encaustic paints without having to buy every color that's made. Just like your regular paints, you can get a full range of color. Like I said, it doesn't show up so much on the camera, a bit there from the light. You can actually see that there is enough range of variance of color to create a lot of colors with just using the 3 colors plus white. All the links are below for all the supplies that I use and where you can get them. Don't hesitate to email me, follow me on my blog and my website, and right here on YouTube.